Good morning and welcome again to another episode of Book Club Corner. My name is Jewel Green and I'll be your host today on Book Club Corner as we chat with local authors, publishing industry stakeholders and booksellers about what's happening in the literary arts. And today we have a fantastic author with us. His name is Andre Bagu. And Mr. Bagu he's a prolific author. He has written quite a number of books. Mr. Bagu is a writer, poet, and essayist. He is the author of Midnight Bestiaries, Narcissus, Pitch Lake, The Dreaming, and more. Welcome, Andre.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So pleased to be here.
We're happy to have you here with us on Book Club Corner. Listen, from the minute I saw your book, the Bestiaries, I saw the cover. I said, I have to chat with this guy. Something's going on here with that. I have to chat with him about this book, right? I love the cover of the book. Is this a beast with three heads? Or is this like, when they do the 3D and you move your head and they keep all three photos?
Well, thank you. I think that interpretation is certainly something that you can say when we look at it, because it's a work of art. But it's kind of like of Cerberus, this mythical three-headed creature from legend.
Yes.
But Midnight Bestiaries is about the interaction between the human and animal world, and so I thought it would be a sort of cover for the book.
I love that. It gives, and this is October, which is folklore month, right? And as well, we have Halloween, close by. When you wrote this book, did the influence of Halloween or folklore, right, mythology, come into your consciousness, and you said, I'm gonna write. This title is gonna convey that. What was your inspiration for that?
Well, it all started many years ago when, I don't know if you remember, there was this saying, Trinidad is not a real place.
Uh-huh.
Trinidad is not a real place. It was sort of a critique, like anything that went wrong, people would be like, Trinidad is not a real place. But when this saying emerged, right, I did begin to think really about, well, who gets to be real? Which nations get to be real, which nations get to be felt, which people in the nation get to be seen and heard and to be recognized. And that's when I started about the book. And then sometime later, someone commissioned me for a poem, and it happened to be a bestiary. And a bestiary is basically a catalog of imaginary beings, imaginary animals. It goes back to the medieval times when it was like a book of religious instruction, so on and so forth. Yeah, I thought that this would be something really interesting to use to address Trinidad and Tobago here. And yeah, and I was about horror, but from I guess the realistic position of like to live, to love in this country. So in that sense, yeah, I did have a kind of a supernatural kind of vibe in my mind, when I was writing things.
I love that. That's interesting. I love the statement when you said, who gets to be real? Who gets to be recognized? I mean, who really gets that hit me differently, as they say. And now we're hearing when people talk about, is Tobago a real place? That's where we're getting to, right? Is Tobago a real place? But I get it. Who gets to be recognized? And does folklore get to be recognized? Is it only those creatures and those the features of the creatures, during Halloween that come out? When Van Helsing, that character opens up this book of all the the bestiaries and what every creature does and how to deal with it. our folklore characters, sometimes we take it for granted that, these other creatures are scary. They belong in the world of what scares people. And ours are joke. Our folklore characters are no joke. And they deserve to be seen and to be recognized. I really like that. Yeah. What characters, as this folklore month, let's get into it. What folklore characters speak to you, not just as an author, but perhaps even through your childhood? If there was one, which character would it be that you'd be like, oh, this one, yeah, I was always scared of that one.
Without a doubt, the Dwen, which is the child who dies before being baptized and who has backwards feet and so has misleading trails in the forest. That has always been a character that has fascinated me. And I have written poems in response to that character. But for me, what is appealing or what is interesting about folklore and also about the beat form of writing is how these imaginary creatures are so real. They reflect everyday concerns that we have, everyday fears. They might be part of an arsenal of instruction to get people to comply with certain forms of behaving, such as a cautionary character telling you to stay home. And that is what really I'm interested in, especially in this book. I'm interested in that kind of space where the imagine the fantastical or the seemingly out of this world actually becomes very sedate and very real, intimate.
This category or genre we do in the Caribbean of folklore, I feel it has a real place in sci-fi, right? It has a real and significant place in the world of science fiction and speculative writing. And I say that because I love sci-fi and I love what you're saying, this outer world feel of these characters. The character I definitely would identify, because even before you said Dwen, that's the one I always had in my mind, right? Scary as hell as far as I'm concerned. And this is from a child, right? So I had mumps once and I was staying by my grandmother in Caroni. My cousins used to come home for lunch and they came home for lunch. I was there, it was a nice little playtime. Time for them to walk back down to St. David's RC school on the main road. And I said, I'm going to follow you all out to the road by where the Caroni River, it's diverted now, but the Caroni River used to pass on this front street by my grandmother. And I said, I'm going to walk you all out to this street. And while we're walking through this little track, because we didn't want to walk all the way around, I see my cousins one by one, just leaving me. Running back. The next one ran, then the next one. And I was like, where is everybody going? Right? And this is me, where's everybody going? And as I look back to the front of me, which is the track, the grass on both sides, I see this huge brown creature shifting like this through the bush. And listen to me, with a hat. I didn't even bother to ask what was going on. I was out of there, Andre. I hit the ground running so hard. Listen, they didn't go back to school. I wasn't interested in talking about whatever we saw in the bush. It was like, I don't want to know what's happening. I was scared. And we were children. The thing was a little taller than us and one big, wide, broad thing pushing back through the grass. So I think we have good reason for our folklore having a space. We see these things. I was talking to somebody earlier about the sukunya, right? As we're talking about it, Andre, in your book, Midnight Beasteries, how many creatures and characters are brought to life in this book?
Well, I have, I'm really concerned with the imagination and with the way people see these creatures, the animal world. And so there are a lot of different animals appear at different points in the narrative. There's quite a few cats, black cats and scary cats, and but in a way, the real sort of animal, the real sort of beast that kind of stalks the book is the notion of fear itself and the inability to connect with other people, to make bridges between worlds, between countries. That is where I am coming from in this book. It becomes very. I think there are some very scary moments in the book, but it becomes very grounded in these notions of the real world and the real sort of heartache that is also very much often the subtext behind a lot of horror, behind a lot of fantasy, behind a lot of folklore and speculative fiction.
Yeah. When we talk about, well, when you mention grounded in reality, right? Not just, as we say, this fantastical world. There are many of us who believe reality and this fantastical world share the same space. It's just this veil between, and some people are able to see. Is that what you believe as well? That there is this, just this very light veil between what we would class as reality and what we would class as the fantastical. They merge for some people, and some people don't see it, but others do. Is that what you believe? And if not, tell us what's your perspective?
Well, I believe the unifying principle behind both worlds is the perception of the person who is navigating it, and in that sense, they are the same, the imaginative world and the real world. Art reflects life, life reflects art. Um, so, not to get too mystical or to seem maybe mentally unstable, I would say, yeah, I wouldn't push back. I wouldn't push back against, that. I love that image of the veil, of it being just a very thin sort of thing, because ultimately, as much as we have quite a lot of facts and empirical development, science, we are very modern and very contemporary. There's still a lot that we as a species, as human beings, have not really come to grips with. And I think there's a way in which we can use the fantastical as a way to kind of avoid confronting some of the harsher realities of the real world, of the contemporary space in which we live in. But at the same time, even as I say that, we need the sense of the imaginative. We need this magical possibility to exist if we are to be inspired to change things. So there's a very interesting symbiotic relationship across this veil um, of these two worlds, and I'm mindful of all of these different dimensions. And really, for me, I really think there's a need to be more grounded in the present, more grounded in the real, even if I will still kind of have this sense of, the mystical or the imaginative, just on the penumbra of everything.
Express that about the contemporary and the modern world that we live in today, where we go to gyms and we work out and we have apps and we have smartphones, and we're living in that age our parents thought was the future, right? And it is the future, but in that kind of this kind of, oh, well, in the near future, we'll be able to, like the Jetsons, we're getting there. But still, we're coming back to this world where there is that, as you say, fantastical, that imaginative, that speculative world of anything is possible. I mean, who knows what's happening in that world? And listen, I'm taking so much inspiration from this conversation in terms of content for perhaps even books. You know, are we actually living in the real world? We're back to the Matrix, right? Is this is this the real world? Is the real world where I think, I go and hang out with my friends, I go to work, I have classes, I am doing self-development, eating right, doing all these wonderful, or is the real world where the fantastical exists? Which one is the real world? I mean, I don't know. Listen, on that note, we're going on a quick break. Andre, listen, if you are watching Book Club Corner live or you're going to be checking us out later on our YouTube channel, we're going on a quick break. Get your drink, get your snacks. I'm having some coconut water, lovely, refreshing water from Tobago. And Andre's having some government juice, right? Or what they call it, or the water of government. Andre's having some of that, right? So we're going on a quick break. Get your snacks, get your drink, and come right back to Book Club Corner. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Go in. You have to stop it. You have to stop it.
Welcome to my kitchen, guys.
You have to stop it again.
That's it. That's the intro. Let's do it one more time, right?
Rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at The Rotisserie Factory.
Welcome back to Book Club Corner, where every Wednesday we chat with an author, publisher, even booksellers about the literary arts. And this Wednesday is no different. We have with us an amazing author, Mr. Andre Bagu, the author of Midnight Bestiaries. Welcome back, Andre.
Hi.
Lovely to have you with us again. Listen, the conversation is getting... We're heading into deep waters here, Andre. We're heading into deep waters.
Real waters.
I tell you. Listen, I was reading your book, and you have creatures in your book. It's not just the fantastical. You have one of your poems talks about birds. You have one, I got to the love of birds late. Is this about you, or is this just something you've written, for the imagination?
Well, loaded question, because the I in a poem is always a very dramatic act. It could be
Yes.
speaker. We say the speaker of the poem or the narrator of the poem, the I. But who's writing it? Obviously there's a human being writing it. So there's a way in which even when we wear these sort of masks, of poems or stories or whatever it is we're writing, whatever we're writing somehow reflects us, even just a little bit. And even the choice of not wanting to identify with what we have written too might say something about us, But I wouldn't say it's 100% me, but I want the reader to think about a kind of a human voice. And, if it falls upon me to be associated with the I have no problem with that.
Yeah, there is that concept that we do bleed onto the page. There is no
Yes.
way to completely remove yourself from the story. There's always going to be some trace of yourself, and I think that's the beauty of authorship. That this book that's going to live on past your ability to survive in this world will have some trace of you besides just saying written by Andre Bago, and that's a beautiful thing, I think. You went from this beautiful story about birds, and then the very next story, bestiaries in the Port of Spain General Hospital. I say, Lord, this man going from calming you down to scaring you, because the first line of that story was, this is how the world ends. I'm paraphrasing. And I was like, I felt like if you just took me and dropped me into The Walking Dead. I don't know if you know that show. I said, that's exactly how the world ends on The Walking Dead, right? This guy wakes up in the hospital and it's utter chaos and madness. When you wrote that bestiaries in the Port of Spain General Hospital, talk to us about that. What inspired you for that piece? And where did you want the readers to go? Where did you want to lead us in that one?
Well, it goes back to what we were discussing earlier about wanting to navigate between this fantasy world and the real world, and ways in which there are connections, and wanting to almost criticize or to draw attention to situations or the circumstances in the real world through the prism of the fantastical and of the animal. And thank you for saying that, because the sequence of poems is often something I think a lot about, and most poets will think a lot about in their poetry collections, as this is. And with that poem, Bestiary set in the Port of Spain General Hospital, which is the title, I was thinking about the ways in which sometimes we can be treated like animals, in a sense. Or I was also thinking too about, there's a specific image in that poem where there's a pigeon that appears in a corridor where there's all these patients and the pigeon is navigating. And I don't know if I'm not sure if probably you haven't been to the Port of Spain General Hospital, but actually in many different public institutions in this country, you might encounter a similar sort of scene where the infrastructure is somewhat frayed, and then there's a little pigeon flying in and out here and there. That really, seeing that, and that sort of common feature of most government buildings was what really sparked that poem. And there's a sense of despair in that poem, but also there's a sense of unity and a sense of togetherness, because all the people in that poem, all of the people who are ill and who are, confronting their own mortality, they kind of come together in a way. And at the end of that poem, I declare, well, or at least the voice of the poem declares, here I was born, in a kind of a volta at the very end, because the entire poem is very wary of this facility, but at the very end, there's a sort of positivity or an affirmation or a willingness to embrace that, well, this is the situation we're in now, and this is my people, and we are all in this together, even if we're suffering.
Such depth these poems and your pieces are bringing to the space. As the reader, myself would be the reader I'm referring to in this instance. As as I sat with your work and was going through it and reading it, I said, this can be taken metaphorically. It can be taken literally. And I like that duality of your work where we're looking at, what is really happening with us physically as a people when we become ill, when we become vulnerable. Does that bring us together, that vulnerability? Does, the issues of society and what's happening with us at the time, does it draw us together? And as you say, this errant pigeon just out of nowhere appears, right? And is there as if, this is my space. The occupants, the human occupants, I don't know where you all came from, but it's my space. You're in my world, right? And and those kinds of happenings where we may be in a vulnerable space, things aren't going so good, and then you see Mother Nature appear, pop up. Hi, kind of like, snap out of it. There are other things happening besides what's going on with you. The world is still turning. The world is still going on. And I really love that about it. When we look at your work, your body of work, not just about in nice Midnight Bestiaries, when we look at your work, I got the feeling from just the Midnight Bestiaries book, I got this feeling of a kind of up and down, right? When you're eating a good barbecue, it's very, very spicy, and then you have the coleslaw to cool you down. I got that feeling of, yeah, I got that feeling. You're hitting us with some very pungent, scary stuff, and then you're like laying off, like, all right, let me give them a chance to breathe. And then we come back again. You have me gripped, and then, okay, let's relax a little bit. Was that intentional? I heard you talk about when you think about, how you're putting your work together. Is this intentional in terms of having the reader, that adrenaline happening, and then you get us to calm down and think, and then we back again in that? Was that intentional? And if it was, why did you do it that way?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for saying that. That's really gratifying to hear because I am, yeah, you're correct. Every book that I write, I'm very acutely aware, or I'm trying to think a lot about the reader's response. And, you mentioned how, some of these pieces can work both metaphorically and also on the surface. That's also something that I want to happen in my work, that I want my work to be doing. I want it to be engaging the reader in an almost tactile, sensual, sensory kind of way, but also engaging the mind, where you might be following along the surface, but you're also thinking or starting to think metaphorically. Well, what on earth does this mean? What does the pigeon, for instance, symbolize in that thing, in that poem? And I definitely, when any poet, when they're putting together a collection, is thinking about, I think, all of this, and they're thinking about how to order the poems one after the other. And you are thinking about some of those basic logistics in terms of giving the reader release, or giving the reader a little break and then going back. Some of my work is very difficult, can be very dense, but at the same time, I wish for it, or I wish for the engagement with it to be still lyrical, to still have that kind of sense of music and musicality. And so to try and navigate that tightrope, I'm often very much considered all of those things you mentioned, keeping the reader interested, keeping the reader, on the edge of their seat, but also modulating the experience, having peaks and troughs, having that sort of narrative. And it is almost like, I want to say a novel, but more like a story, or the art of storytelling, in a sense, where there's always this sort of sense of inciting incident and conflict and denouement. It's mirroring that sort of pattern. But one of the things that I loved about, and why I wrote Midnight Mysteries is all about prose poetry, is because I love that possibility within prose poetry, which is poetry which on the page is just looking like an ordinary block of text. I love that because it allows that sense of story, of storytelling, and of the prosaic. And then when that is placed against the hyperreal or the fantastical, I find that such a very interesting sort of conflict or relationship. So so all of those things, all of those sorts of thoughts are definitely in my mind when I'm writing each book. Certainly when I'm editing it, you don't just sit up but you edit to try and make the magic happen.
Yes, well, I think you definitely made the magic happen. As I was reading the book, I felt the magic. It was, I'm reading, I'm in the book, I'm in the story, I'm in the piece. But also happening now and I don't know if this is just my author brain kicking in, that imagination. I now started to, oh my gosh, there's another story happening here. There's another story happening here. Yeah, just happening while I'm reading it. And I felt like that was it was extremely magical. Reading a book is magical for me, but I love when a book, an author, your level of technical difficulty, as they say in the Olympics, right? Your level of technical difficulty takes us to a place where our imagination now it's like our imagination has now been shocked into something is happening with my imagination personally. A story is emerging out of your story. Reading that, another story is happening, right? You see this other branch starting on this tree, and this other branch starting on this tree, and I felt like that's what happened for me when I was reading your book. It wasn't just me being in your world, but my world felt inspired and open, and I thought that. I don't think that had happened to me for quite a while reading. That's how I love a book to engage with me. And, it really just triggers me to be thinking, and I love it. All I can say is superlative as we head to break. Listen, if you're looking at Book Club Corner, we're here with Andre Bagu and his book, Midnight Mysteries. We're going on a quick break. Get your snacks, get your drink, come right back as you're chilling with us. When we come back, he's going to be reading to us from his book. And I hope he's going to be reading something equally scary, equally imaginative, because I love that adrenaline and I love the scare. But anyway, he's going to be reading to us when we come back. Get yourself in a comfy position, get your snacks, and I know you eat out all your snacks already, and all you drink out your juice and your little drink, right? If you're drinking government water, you drink it out already. Go and get a fresh batch. Come right back as we chill here with Andrew Bagu. See you in a few minutes.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
How it's gonna go. They better look up and look. them once again. They better look out below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look out below, 'cause this is your show.
UX and Standard Listen. The TGIS sale is back, up to 75% off store-wide. Washers from $1,249. Stoves from $1,299. Fridges from $1,999. Patio set from $1,999. And up to 35% off Samsung and LG TVs. Plus, a daily magic hour with even more savings. Follow Standards on social media for the inside scoop. October 25th to the 30th only.
Tobago Carnival is just around the corner, and Bethel Credit Union has you covered. Whether you're prepping for costumes, parties, giveaways, or a staycation, it's all within your reach with our Carnival loan sale. For as little as $900 a month, yes, $900 a month, you can get the funds you need to make this Carnival season unforgettable. At Bethel Credit Union, we're here to make your celebration dreams a reality. Visit us today or call 639-8226 for more information. Normal lending criteria applies, because we see you at BCU.
Welcome back to Book Club Corner, right here on Tobago Updates in the amazing city of Scarborough, Tobago. And we're here chatting today with Andre Bagu, the author multiple books, as a matter of fact, but we're focusing today on Midnight Bestiaries. Thank you, Andre, for being here with us today. Great. So, Andre, we went on a quick break. You know, it's the October month, folklore month, it's breast cancer awareness month. It's, you know, it's a month, a lot going on. Cybersecurity awareness month. And as I indicated, Tobago Updates had a bit of a cyber scare, right? The Facebook page got tampered with and they had to recreate it. So if you're looking at Book Club Corner today, please feel free to go help Tobago Updates get back on its feet in terms of its likes and followers, because I know, you know, lots of us watch Tobago Updates for all current events and content. So like, share, and share it with a friend, and make sure you go like the page itself, as well as Book Club Corner. Of course, I want you to go look at Book Club Corner and give us a like as well. So share the content. And if you're looking, if you've missed it live, you can always catch up on Book Club Corner's YouTube channel. Before we went to break, I promised the viewers, Andre, that you would be reading for us. And I got comfy. So I have my drink here. I have my drink here and I'm ready. Are you ready for us, Andre?
I'm ready.
Take it away.
So I'm going to be reading a poem from a book called Bestiary, in which I am stalked by a cat. This is the second time an animal has appeared in the yard and then vanished without a trace. The first was 3 weeks ago. I was walking Buster in the yard. We stood together, braced against the wind. I had this feeling as though someone was staring. I looked up, and there it was, on the roof of the small apartment next door. Nobody lives in that apartment. None of my neighbors owns a cat. It sat on the roof like a sphinx. The sun set behind it. Its eyes were alchemized. Buster was barking at it. I had to quickly take him back inside. I didn't like the idea of Buster fighting with the cat. When I came back outside, I made sure I'd secured our door carefully. Buster has learned how to open doors. The cat was gone. But the feeling of being watched remained. Then, last night, Buster and I were sleeping peacefully in bed, his soft fur against my leg. It was near midnight. Buster leapt like a charger, barking. It was a different kind of bark. Buster barks a lot, and I have learned to identify which bark means what. This bark did not play with me, feed me, or there's something annoying me, or let me hump you, or I don't like this person. This bark meant I am afraid. When I looked out the window, there was a cat on the neighbor's wall, staring straight in at us. I don't know if it was because I had been watching The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix, but I immediately felt my life was in imminent danger. Buster barked and barked and barked, each bark the echo of his self, but the cat did not budge. I thought about opening the window and throwing something at it. As though it had read my mind, the cat dug in its heels, peering at us, its eyes lit by hate. I cannot say now if this was the same cat from 3 weeks prior. I cannot say for sure what it looked like if it had stripes. It seemed at one with the hostile wind. Buster never climbs to the window, but he jumped up there faster than I could say no and barked even louder. I have never heard him bark as loud. After several minutes, the cat slowly tiptoed away on the wall. I went back to sleep, but Buster stayed at the base of the bed, looking out the window, just in case. I woke up the next morning and decided I would kill the lover of the protagonist of my poem, and then I would bring him back to life as a cat, and he would haunt the hero. The hero will never know and will write poems about the cat. When I quickly rushed to write all this down, 2 brown doves appeared outside my window, sitting on the same spot where the cat was. Several birds have died in my yard.
Hmm. First of all, Buster and his owner have a stalker, and that stalker is a cat.
Or is it?
Or is it exactly? That's exactly what I was thinking. Because we have in our culture the idea, the concept of persons mounting animals, transforming into animals, right? So who knows? You have a stalker, but is it really a cat? I, I wonder where and why the cat always finding itself just in a spot where you can't really get to, just to be able to sit down and watch. That story is very unsettling. It's very unsettling,
Yeah.
and I love it. I love it. Listen, tell people where to get your books, where to get Midnight Beasteries and all the other books that you have. Tell us where to find them.
Okay, so I guess because this is my seventh book, my seventh full-length book, I would say, you can just follow me on social media to just get up to date with everything. But this book is available from metropolitan bookstores and paper-based bookshop in Port of Spain, or it's also available from the publisher in the UK, Broken Sleep Books, directly from their website. And it's always good when people buy directly from a publisher as opposed to other intermediary distributing sort of vendors. But yeah, just check out those websites or just follow me and send me a message.
Perfect. And we want to shout out our good friend Brett at Metropolitan Books and Bookerslit at Paper Based. They've, taken over that bookstore. It's nice when we, one, support the authors, but also support our local bookstores as well. They are helping to distribute the books, to get the books out there into the hands of readers. So we just want to put that out there. And we're heading into my second favorite part of Book Club Corner, where we give insights to authors and publishers in the green room. So listen, today we are going to be heading into the green room to give some insight. And today our question is, how much do ISBN numbers cost? And an ISBN number, one-time processing fee costs US $20. And then every number after that, if you buy a single number, it's another 20 US. You can buy them in blocks of 10s, which will cost you 50 US dollars. And then a block of 100, which will cost you 300 US. A block of 1,000, 750 US. A block of 10,000 numbers, that's US $1,500. And of course, when we're heading into the hundreds and hundreds of thousands and etc., you're really looking at publishing houses who are publishing multiple authors. But if you're an author and listen, this is going to be my life. I'm going to be writing for the rest of my life. You may be one who wants 100, right? I'm 100, a block of 10. ISBN numbers, and that makes it easy because then you don't have to go back in and approach Dallas again, fill out the forms again, and try to get a number. What did you do, Andre, when you were applying for ISBN numbers? Or are you even traditionally published? Are you traditionally published, self-published? What was your process? Tell us briefly about that.
Well, I am what you describe as traditionally published. About 13 years ago, I would have completed my very first poetry manuscript, and I would have sent it out to various publishing houses away, and I would have received an acceptance. And that is how my first book was published, Trick Vessels. It was published by Shearsman Books in the UK. And they also published my second book, Burn. And then as the years went on, I also met other publishers here, such as People Tree Press. They often come to the books press. That's how I met them. They also publish some of my work. So yeah, publishing for me has been a matter of sending out submissions and hoping to be accepted. But I also, it's very intriguing to think about self-publishing. See so many exciting people doing it as well in the Caribbean space. I think that's very important. I think we need more.
Yeah. As we're talking about, self-published, traditionally published, I really like that you went out that route of being traditionally published, meaning you sent out your query letters to different publishing houses to see who was interested, right? Who would bite. And a lot of persons are saying, listen, I don't have the time and I don't have the fingernails to bite off to wait, right? To see if they will take me or not. I'm just going to get self-published and that's it. Because, it is a bit harrowing mentally to see if you're an author, you sent out your book, your baby, I wonder if they're gonna like it. And I really love that you took that leap of faith. And congratulations to you on being traditionally published. Traditional publishing has a real space. It meets a real need. It gives the author that time and space to just be able to write. Don't have to worry about, publishing, marketing, distribution. Very, let the author do what they're good at, write, and let the publishers do what they're good at, publish and market. And I think that's fantastic. More persons should get into being traditionally published, I think. What would
There are
what would your advice be to authors coming up in terms of whether they should try to be traditionally published or just go the route of being self-published? What would your advice be?
I think it's important to know the different processes and to be mindful of what your objectives are. So, for instance, I think with traditional publishing, when you go that route and you are published by a publisher, you normally have the kind of oversight of an editor, eagle-eyed editor, who will really take a look at the manuscript and very often recommend changes or have notes or make improvements. And that degree of distance from the work is important, and that can actually push the work into a whole new kind of level, and you don't have that extra level of scrutiny when you're doing it on your own. I think also traditionally published books, or some of them, tend to have better production values, better. I think a cover is very important. So for all my books, I try to, even if I don't, sometimes I get to design my own covers, but sometimes I don't. Like this cover was not designed by me, it was designed by the publisher, who is very good at graphic design. But the traditional publishers, they would have those resources. But I think it's important to know also that there are very different types of traditional publishers, because there are very small independent publishers, and then there are the huge, big publishers for which there are agents and there's a whole architecture behind them. And it's important to know, well, where do you feel your work fits? And it's important to know, well, what are your objectives, I think if you are going to go down the route of self-publishing, it's really important to ask for help and to always, have that network in place where you have fellow readers, fellow writers, and maybe graphic designers, people who can take a look at what is being done and to just give it an extra sort of level of scrutiny. But whichever route you go, the fundamental thing is to really work on your writing. That's why we're here. That's what we're here for. It's really the writing that has to really be worth it. It has to be worth the whole endeavor. And that internal process of knowing what you want to say and how you want to say it, that is where the real work, I think, is. And once you work on that, then you can think about all these other things, such as the avenues of, well, how am I going to get this book out there?
I think you're 100% right. And most important, what I heard that I think bears repeating is that extra level of scrutiny that sometimes does not exist in self-publishing, right? And rightfully so. It's called self-publishing, right? Not other people helping me publish and liking my book, right? So I think that bears repeating. Authors out there, if you're going to be publishing your book, please make sure that you have built in your process and in your time of writing that extra level of scrutiny. Just to catch mistakes, catch things that may not be coherent and cohesive in terms of your writing, Who am I writing for? Sometimes we don't answer that question. Who am I writing for? Am I, only writing for a very small target audience? So, can I open up my target audience in terms of who's going to be looking at the book after? So I'm putting it out there as we head to the end of Book Club Corner. Just like that, we've flown through 60 minutes. Andre, we want to thank you for gracing our Book Club Corner with your presence. We thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know about anybody else, but let me tell you, I had a really good time. I loved your book. I love reading your book, and I am admonishing, listen, go out there, support an author. Christmas is coming up. It's a great time to buy a good book, and he has a number of books. Just go in the bookstore and say, you have any books by Andrew Bagu? Right? And let him show you all the books he's written, and you just pick like any, meeny, miny, mo. Right, Andrew? Pick a few. Pick a few. So we want to thank you for being here with us, our guests watching. Have a great day. Enjoy the October season, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Folklore Month. I mean, there's so much happening. Halloween is coming up. But please be careful. Be safe, whatever you're doing. Cheers to you. Cheers to you, Andre. Please be careful, be safe, and enjoy yourself reading. Right, all our bibliophiles out there, get your book and have a good read as we head into quickly. Our November month is coming up. Please be good to yourselves. Christmas is coming, and we'll see you next week when we chat with another author on Book Club Corner.